From the Starr Conspiracy and the content channel, Hey, Brett Starr. I'm Brett Starr. This is Long Strange Trip. Episode 8.
Teach you everything I know. Even though it's not that.
Felgar, and I am the very proud operations manager for the Starr Conspiracy. I have been back with the agency since September of 2021. I'm not enough coffee today. I'm a boomerang employee. So I was here years ago for a brief stint, and very, 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 very happy to be back. Let's see, I'm 37 years old. I've been in Fort Worth for 9 years, born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, raised all over the East Coast, went to college in the South, somehow ended up back here in Texas. Let's see, what do I do when I'm not here? I bartend on the side. I love jazz music. I'm really into quiet activity lately, like reading, napping. I'm feeling every bit the late 30s, elder millennial.
Well, you're actually a different kind of boomerang employee than what we usually refer to when we talk about a boomerang employee. So usually when we're talking about a boomerang employee, it's someone who left the Starr Conspiracy and then came back. Right. And you, I hate to bring up a painful memory for both of us, but you were actually, we laid you off. And I think that's relevant to this conversation for a lot of reasons. Number one is you've seen two very different agencies. So we had to lay off a bunch of people. And just, it was very painful for, everyone on all sides of it. And I apologize for that. But we had to do that because we weren't running a good agency. And, I think you probably have, I don't know this, but you probably have walked back into a very different company than the one that you left. And you did it in the middle of a pandemic. And so it's you have a very unique relationship with the Starr Conspiracy. What do you think is different now than when we almost ran the agency into the ground those many years ago?
Well, I think the biggest thing, I think that communication and authenticity and just being candid seems to flow more fluidly throughout all of us. For me, coming back and seeing familiar faces, and it really was like coming home. I remember writing you that thank you email when I first got back. It just felt right. But the whole one team concept, I really appreciate because it reminds us all that we really are working together. We're a team, we're collective. I guess the biggest thing that stands out to me, the increased sense of camaraderie. Even though we're all remote, even though we're 100% digital by default, I think that we really are in this together. That would be, I guess, my biggest takeaway.
At what point did you realize that the pandemic was probably going to change everything?
It's so funny. It's like, for me, I equate it to, where were you when 9/11 occurred? Or where were you when this happened? For me, I was working serving shift at Gus's Fried Chicken on Magnolia Avenue. And I was bartending that night. And President Trump at the time was going to address the nation. And there was rumors that they were going to shut down the UK border. And I remember turning that on the TV at the restaurant and just, standing there and watching. And it wasn't a feeling of dread necessarily, but I just knew that this is a big moment. Something is happening here. My mother is a little clairvoyant. My sister is too. I sometimes I wouldn't say that I'm like them, but sometimes I get feelings about things like we all do, gut instincts, it's part of like being human and who we are. And I felt it. I just knew in that moment, I was like, that everything is about to change. Now, to the degree that it has, and to the degree that I have, I think as a person, I would never, if you asked me 2 years ago, the kind of change I found in myself and how I live my life, I would have just said, you're nuts. Like, what are you talking about? This is
So
you.
you kind of got that feeling when you were, kind of watching this unfold in other places. Was there a moment when it really hit home for you? That's like, yeah, that thing that I thought was going to happen is actually happening.
So I have an autoimmune disorder. I have lupus, and it's very well. I'm very lucky, very mild. I haven't had a flare in many years, and I remember, well, as things, as you say, progressed and things got worse, and the shutdown happened, and restaurants closed, and bars were no longer a thing, and all that. I remember thinking, like, what if I get this? What that could kill me,
Yeah.
maybe. Like, what do I do? And sure enough, in September of 2020, I got COVID. And I'm very lucky because I was actually living in Lou and Kelly's guest house at the time. So they were kind enough to just leave things on the porch,
Yeah.
and I'd sneak out and grab it and shuffle back in. I was very lucky though. No respiratory issues, but all the other symptoms. And it felt very lonely. This is a time where, you were quarantining for at least 14 days before you went back out into the world. And physically, it kicked my ass. And I think that was the real big moment for me, feeling so small, feeling alone, and being scared and being frustrated because, at that point, they were, and still today, the answers change about, this is what causes this, or it's best to wear masks, or no, don't wear masks, or gloves might work, or this doesn't. So and you know me well enough to know, like, I'm task oriented, and you just tell me what you want so I can meet and exceed your expectations. I just want to know so then I can, do what I got to do. So I just helpless, lonely, scared, frustrated. I don't know. Yeah, I feel so basic to me, for certain things, like it's science. Like for
Yeah.
me, it's just it's black and white, it's just like, this is how it is. This is what we got to do. And it makes me sad too. I feel like I've lost friendships over this. I've lost, I've lost people over the course of life, as I'm sure we all have. And I'm not a person who really likes to get involved with political debate. Just,
Yeah.
sex, religion, politics, just leave it out, especially when you've got beers on the table. And I found that I couldn't get away from these conversations with folks, even if I politely said, you know what, I know you differ from me, and I love you, respect you. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, fear, frustration, and the unknown.
Did it change your outlook on life, or your life plans, or the goals that
For
you have?
me, I guess with the autoimmune disorder too. It'll be 5 years ago next month. I had maxillofacial surgery, and I had my jaw joints replaced. My face was broken in 12 places, and it was horrible. Like, I only now feel like Alexandra again, and I didn't realize how traumatized I'd been from that experience. I also, tried to do those quiet activities like I was talking about earlier, like
Yeah.
reading, writing, just spending more time, just thinking. And I looked at, my life, and I always thought, like, oh, I'm doing good and this is fine and whatever. And I thought, I really have to start looking at things as I'm going to get up every day and, like, what does the best version of Alexandra do? What does she eat? What does she wear? How does she communicate with friends and family? What's her work schedule? I tried to think about, like, when I paused and when I sat down and I really looked at things, I realized, like, I have some really big unresolved issues from what physically happened to me. And I need to deal with that. I need to deal with that. And I need to figure out why I use work as a coping tool. And I need to really have a hard, tough conversation with myself and say, Alexandra, what do you want? My job at the agency is to take care of 78 people. And I tell everybody all the time, I have the best job in the world, period. I get to do what I love to do, and I get so much love in return. It's stupid. I'm so lucky. But I needed to take time to figure out what I really wanted. you
Yeah.
know, people ask me sometimes, they're like, what do you do for fun? Or what's your hobby? And I'm like, oh shit, like, I don't know. You know, 'cause I was
Yeah.
just go, 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 go all the time, where everything was based around other people all the time. So I'm learning to figure out, you know, what does the best version of Alexandra look like? What does she do? What does she eat? What does she wear? How does she approach her work? And then what is she doing for her? And I try and think about that every day, even if it's just getting up and getting on the rooftop of my apartment building and looking at the sun and drinking my coffee or calling a family member. I'm trying to do more for me. And
Mhm.
I hate saying that because, you know, we're conditioned since we're kids, like, you know, you have to sharing and be polite, please and thank you, be a team player. And I realized that I don't, I need to learn how to be me.
How is your view of work and your relationship with, you know, jobs and your, you know, career path and stuff like that? How has that changed over the course of the past couple of years?
You know, it's not necessarily about the money or, you know, the company card or the car allowance or, you know, anything. It really is about, I know it's such a cliche, but it really is about the people. And for me, so yesterday we met with some kiddos from Leadership Fort Worth,
Hmm.
two groups of middle schoolers
Yeah.
to talk to them about the agency, you know, and share with them. And my biggest thing that I want to impress upon these kids that I remind myself is that, you know, it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be different. It's okay to love to read or play the trumpet or do ballet or be a kick-ass person at chess. Like it is okay. And while we all joke, but yeah, it makes, I take so much pride in coming to work every day and contributing to all of that. And I'm excited to see how this continues to grow too, that feeling.
What, when you talk to other people who work in other places, how is their experience compared to the experience that you're having at the Starr Conspiracy right now? Does that make sense?
It does. You know, that ownership again, treating my day, my work as if this were my business. You know, when I talk to people, as I'm sure you've heard from a lot of us, like, oh, I work for the Starr Conspiracy. Oh, I hear that place is great. Like, you guys have a lot of perks, right? It's like, yeah, we have, you know, 3-day weekends and unlimited PTO, and I'm learning how to use my new Oculus system. People are like, what? You know, they just think it's the stuff and the,
Yeah.
you know, the flashy and the sexy. And it's
Yeah.
just, I think that, you know, there's so much more behind that. I try and explain that to people. You got to have the balance, right? And I don't know. I don't know. I have quite a few friends that are headed back to the office, and the it's not disappointment, it's not sadness, but they're just when they talk about work, there's just this look that comes over them that just, you know, you feel it like in your gut. And for me, it's like I wake up every day and I'm like, like let's get to work. Like I look forward to it. I'm invested. I treat this as my own. I really care. I never want to work anywhere else for the rest of my life. Like this is it for me. And I think that is a very rare statement for elder millennials, and then also just people in the workforce in general. Like that was something, you know, my grandparents, like you get a job and you work there for 35 years and you get your pension, you're good. Like I truly do feel like I am so lucky that I have that opportunity. And I mean, my resume, I've done so many different things. I worked in music and art and museums and fashion and stuff. And, you know, it's just, there's so much to do and see. And I am a person that thrives on change to a degree. You know, I went to 6 different elementary schools as a kid, lived all over the country. But yeah, I have a really unique opportunity to grow something here and to really, I really, really believe in it. And I don't say this, you know, to hate on anybody or any other employers or my friends, but like, I just don't see that from other people. And, it's difficult to try and explain how I feel about this place and these people to, I guess, people, outsiders that have never had something like that. Not even necessarily work related, but
Yeah.
something that you really truly believe in with your whole heart.
Well, it's the Great Resignation, right? That's what everyone's
That's
saying.
it.
It's the Great
That's
Resignation.
it.
And when I hear the Great Resignation, you know, I mostly hear people complaining, mostly employers and companies complaining
Oh yeah.
that this new generation of workers don't have any loyalty. that they only want to work someplace. They feel like they've met their obligation if they work someplace for 12 months or 18 months, that they don't feel they even need to put something on their resume if they were only there for, 6 months, so, gaps in resumes and stuff like that. And you just hear all these complaints as if there's like this, cultural red thread that runs through an entire generation of people that, are changing the work dynamic. And I do believe there's a great resignation, but I think it's companies resigning themselves to delivering a shitty work experience.
Yeah.
And you said a couple of things that I just, really want to double click on because I think they're so important. First of all, in all of our job descriptions, I think, unless they've changed, but in all of our job descriptions, we basically say we want this to be the last job that you ever have. And we mean that.
Right.
We really do.
We sure do.
I think that we, over the last, 2.5 years or so, have only had like 2 people leave the business.
That's right.
For good reasons. One, went on to pursue, an advanced degree and make a career change, and another got a great job offer from a great work tech company. Right. And but mostly we have not experienced whatever this great resignation is that people are talking about. And I think something that you said that may offer some insight into why has to do with when you said, look, people really, focus on the perks. They focus on the 3-day weekend and the quiet time and, the Meta Oculus, whatever it's called now, goggles and unlimited paid time off and stuff like that.
Right.
And what people don't realize is that all of those things are only possible because of how we treat each other. Yeah. And how we trust each other with the amount of autonomy that allows people to work very effectively. I mean, we get twice as much work done with a 3-day weekend. We're very intentional about saying 3-day weekend, not 4-day work week. We get a lot more work done with 3-day weekends than most companies get with their traditional, 1.5 days off, which is what the traditional work week really looks like.
Right.
But you don't just say, hey, we have a 4-day work week, and hey, we have unlimited paid time off, and then expect all these great things to happen. Right. Because it really has to be a mind shift. It really has to be a way that you think about things and a way that you approach your relationship with others. What do you think we could have done better, or what do you think we got wrong?
Well, I hate to say wrong, more like opportunity. But one of the first things that I noticed when I came back, but we are working hard to protect, would be the protection of quiet time. I think you and I and many others come from the era of if you work 80 hours a week, that means you're doing a good job. That, we're not talking about quality. We're like, oh, they're up at 1:30 in the morning answering email, and that whole mentality is no longer our world. That's no longer our reality. So I think that our efforts as an agency to keep that balance for all of us, to protect that individual time, like you say, it only results in super positive things. Now, being in ops, I get, we roll with the punches. We gotta jump on something. You know how it goes. So sometimes you just can't get around it. And, especially in my role and being the support for 78 people, like my people, they come first. Like whatever you need, that's what I'm here to do. So I appreciate that we created this time for us individually to use however we want to. And I guess I would say that I wish that we had worked on protecting that time a little earlier in the process. But I appreciated the surveys that you sent out shortly after I came back about quiet time, about, the lunch hour being for an hour and a half actually. And then, Fridays, keeping Fridays sacred. For a while there, Dan had to message me or ping me and say, Alexandra, you need to get offline. It's Friday.
Yeah, so, well, that's why we call it a 3-day weekend, right? Because you shouldn't be doing anything on Friday that you wouldn't do on a Saturday or Sunday. But what is this quiet time? We talk about quiet time. Everyone's talked about quiet time. Right. I don't think that we've actually Dana, our producer, may be able to correct me on this, but I don't think anyone's actually defined what quiet time is. So what is quiet time to you, and why is it worth protecting, and how hard is it to protect?
So when I onboard people to the agency, I believe this too for myself, quiet time is time for you. It is uninterrupted time that is yours and only yours. You can take a nap, you can grocery shop, you can hang with your kids, you can use that for workflow time. You can do whatever the hell you want. And, I feel like in life, especially right now, there are very few things that are just for us. I can't think of many things that even now for me, that are just for me. And I think having had the chance to experience that and understand that, and as someone who is working on herself so diligently, that's a gift. That is truly a gift. And for me, as in operations, as the office mom, in a lot of ways, I need to realize that I can't be good for our team unless I'm good to myself first. And I know that's a cliche. I know a lot of women in particular, they put themselves last in terms of priority, but it reminds me that the success is not defined by working 80 hours a week and being up and emailing at 1:30 in the morning. Success is finding that balance, and is showing up as the best version of Alexandra every day so she can be the best for the people and the business she cares about. So.
I'm glad that we put some of those things in place, like quiet time, early on.
Yes.
But there was a period, probably right when you were showing up, where it was really eroding because we got really busy and we were kind of behind in hiring people. And we hired like 20 or 30 people or something like that in a really short amount of time. And there was a bunch of, new people being onboarded, and things got really chaotic. And then we had to kind of come back and clean up around the edges of some of these things that, if we'd not paid attention to it, could have easily gone by the wayside. And so I find it incredibly, inspiring that you've not only kind of used this moment as a platform to create the best Alexandra, which I didn't know how Alexandra could get better, but apparently there is a better version that you're creating, but also how it can help bring people together in a better way because of, the things that we've experienced together. I mean, we've all got more in common than any generation since, like World War II or the Great Depression. Yes. Like, we've all been through something significant.
Right. No, it's important. We learn so much from each other by sharing experiences. I'm trying, like when I'm speaking with somebody here at the agency or a friend, I always like to try and relate a personal experience. Like with Dana, I think she's still on with us, but I think I know in my heart how she's feeling. And because I want her to know, like, you're not alone. Like, I know what that feels like in my own way. And that sucks. Like, let's talk about how much that sucks. Because sometimes talking about how much things suck really helps.
Yeah.
And I have to, it's so funny because and my dad calls me Care Bear because I'm always like, happy, hello, like, let's go, let's do it. But I'll share this with you. I don't mind sharing this with people publicly. Like, I'm on a pretty heavy dose of antidepressants, and most people would never think that.
Yeah.
So I think I saw a quote, I think from Robin Williams or something recently. It's just like the people that are the most high energy, loving, happy, they don't want other people to feel like they feel. And that resonates with me. I don't want anyone to ever feel as low as I know I've felt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have this view that, like, if you're not on antidepressants after what we've been through over the past, several years, that you probably just haven't found time to go see a psychiatrist.
Right.
And, that's probably my own experience and perspective, being, a person who is very prone to depression, long bouts of depression, everything. But I mean, this has just been such a crucible, and anybody who has any underlying mental health issue like I have, that stuff got activated and triggered hardcore, like 1,000 different times, in the past 2.5 years.
Yes.
And so, I'm glad that we're having, a conversation about it. I don't just mean you and I, but that increasingly people are talking about it, out there in the world in a more open way. I think that this phase of feeling like we're transitioning out of the pandemic and that life is like showing signs of normalcy is going to be more difficult for people than when we all abruptly were, sent into, kind of isolation or, sent home from work or whatever. It seems to me like when that happened, there was a real energy because of how abrupt it was. And we all felt like we were working together to, kind of overcome something. There's been a lot of writing about, crisis fatigue and how it starts with this, kind of honeymoon phase and this, real sense of renewed purpose and all that stuff. And then over time, it kind of gets into this period of disillusionment where, well, this is still going on. It's still happening, And I think that the change that we're experiencing now, in many ways, is going to be more gradual and more difficult because it's a slower adjustment. And it's almost like that, kind of boiling a frog metaphor. It's like 1 degree at a time, and then, you wind up with a boiled frog. That was a terrible metaphor. But, it's like
I got you.
All these companies come out and they say, okay, well, we want you back in the office 3 days a week. And then how long before that becomes 4 days? And then how long before that becomes 5 days?
Right.
And how long before, oh, well, this person was promoted because they got more face time. And, that person couldn't get it. But, this is a company that, talking about those bigger organizations who are making these decisions now who feel like they thrive in that environment. And that's what I think the Great Resignation is that, companies are okay with it. They're okay with the 80-hour work weeks. They're okay with somebody reaching a life is too short moment and then just reloading with the next person who's leaving a job where they're burnt out, hoping that this job will be different if they just moderate their own behavior, not realizing that they're just walking into another power structure where, it demands that kind of effort in order to achieve whatever goals, the individual has.
Right.
So I sure hope that doesn't happen. But if people do experience challenges and, pain and hardships and, stuff like that as we go through this, period of, I don't even know what it is, like reintegration with society.
Yeah, that feels fitting. Yeah.
I hope that they know that other people are struggling with it as well. That we can do better as companies in terms of the expectations that we set and the things that we allow to have, to happen.
Yeah, but I think, with all this too, like, just as I've been saying, we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to give ourselves grace, patience, whatever. There's work to do. Like, this is our time. Tom Brokaw, The Greatest Generation, the defining moments of who we are, as Texans, as members of the Starr Conspiracy, as Americans, as citizens of the world, there's work to do here. And I think I'm certainly one of those people. I don't know if it's maybe an American thing. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I feel like we got really comfortable with the way things were. And I think, and I'm not getting political with this really, I just think if we're not constantly thinking about and questioning and wondering, it doesn't work. It doesn't work the way it needs to. And, I know everyone is working hard right now. I know everyone is working through a lot, mental health issues, a host of different things. I consider myself lucky, in all this. I'm 37 years old, single lady, like went on a date over the weekend with a guy. We were like, man, like we're late 30s. I know that we have disposable income. There's no kids. And then over here, I'm watching my friends get 2 hours of sleep a night, trying to educate their babes. And I'm like, oh my God, I got a little taste of that yesterday. I got Mama Bear on. I'm very Mama Bear to the office right now, particularly because Rachel Bates. I didn't want the kids to come in the office because I don't want to expose her to any more new germs. So Amphibian, our neighbors, and wonderful local theater here let us use their space. But I wish you could have been here for that. It's funny watching me get no. But I would say, as much as we got to love and persevere and take care of each other and kumbaya and all that stuff, there is work to do. And self-reflection and improvement is hard. And it sucks.
Yeah. And
but we've got to do it.
Yeah, if we just put social good at the center of the equation, whether it's, what we're doing at work or the work that we're doing on ourselves or, the way that we run companies or,
Right.
whatever, if we just put social good, the collective good at the center of that equation, that's the work that we need to do, right?
Right.
And that's the part that, have you seen that movie, Don't Look Up?
No, I haven't.
It's a very interesting movie, probably pretty political, but it's basically about these astronomers that discover an asteroid, a planet killer, is headed towards Earth. And, they've got all the science. You can see it in the sky as it gets closer. It's like headed, right towards Earth.
Right,
it becomes a political issue. And people are like, don't look up. They want us to look up. They want us to look up, and just ignore that going on over there, etc. And there's this, what's probably the last line of the movie before, spoiler alert for anyone who's going to watch this movie. I'm about to spoil the whole movie for you. So the asteroid does hit the Earth, and like moments before it hits the Earth and the entire planet's destroyed, Leonardo DiCaprio, who is one of the scientists on the team that, saw the asteroid first, says, we really did have it all, didn't we? As he's just reflecting on, you said people just got comfortable with the way things were. And before the pandemic, we really did have it all,
We really did.
Yeah.
We really did.
And now we have an opportunity to rebuild in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
And I just hope that we take that opportunity because we can have it all and more, and we can bring more people into the tent. We can't have it all.
Right. That's it. That's exactly it.
Well,
exactly it.
I've really, really enjoyed our conversation today.
Same here. Thank you. Thanks for of course. Thanks for having me. I feel like I kind of talking all over the place, but
no, it was perfect.
Some of it. Okay.
It was perfect.
Yeah, that for some reason, I know it's so funny, like that moment in the little fried chicken restaurant, you realize that your universe, your world just changes. About, we get nervous when we have to send all agency emails, things like that, just because, oh my God, all these great, smart, creative people. I don't want to look like a dumbass. It's, I need to get over that too.
When I say things like, you said something that's incredibly important, it sounds like nothing else that you said was really important. So I want to, you said a bunch of really important stuff, but there's this one thing I wanted to, kind of pull on the thread a little bit.
I don't know. I feel like I sound like a self-help book after the pandemic or at this point in the pandemic, because I'm like, no, it's all good. Love yourself. Be patient.
Listen, honestly, it's a very selfish project because I just wanted to know that, people were as fucked up as, as me.
Yeah.
Based on.
Teach you